Okay, so hey, when you first read this title, I really hope you laughed. I hope you didn't take it too seriously. I wanted to have a conversation about something that I reflected back on in my past when I was an early manager. And I was just like conversing with some executives here at Meg and some of our team members because we have hundreds of clients all around the country, whether we're doing billing services, virtual front desk, or we're training their executives, their managers or clinical directors, whatever they need, whatever services they need, we're here for them. And as we were having this conversation, I said, well, I really wish someone taught me how not to suck as a manager when I first became a clinical director. And of course, everybody stopped and said, you should tell the audience that. You should put that on your podcast. I was like, really? We should put that out there? So I hope you guys are lighthearted enough that you really accept the humor in it. But it kind of is true. I took my, I'm a big fan of the Remarkable 2, and I took my Remarkable 2 and made some notes of what I wanted to share with you in this episode. And surprisingly, it's one page. It's one page of how not to suck as a manager. It's really just 5 things. And if you can master these 5 things, you can be a mentor leader, which, as you know, that's my definition of a manager, somebody who puts just as much time on mentoring personally and professionally the people that come to work every day, that work with them and collaborate with them and coordinate with them, whether it be part of their junior staff, peer staff, or executive staff, and leader. Like a leader needs to identify structure, policies, programs, protocols, vision. You can't have one with, an entrepreneur could be somebody who thinks of a bunch of bright ideas, but really can't bring anything to fruition. That doesn't, the best entrepreneurs are ones that can actually see it through to a complete done, right? So in the big picture of things, I hope as we're having this conversation, because that's how I like to think of these things, you're thinking to yourself like, yeah, that's right. I'm always thinking of the next bright idea, and then I go on to the next thing and the next thing, and then my staff's always pushing back on me like nothing ever gets followed through with, or nothing ever gets completed, or you never get back to anybody about anything that they suggest to you because your brain keeps going to the next fun thing to do. That was me as a young manager. As a young manager, I just was excited about growth and development and enhancing one's life and enhancing one's contribution to our team and to our group. And I felt that my role as a clinical director was that of a facilitator. I'm to facilitate the patient care experience. I'm to facilitate the experience of the people that work alongside me, that come to work each and every day. My mistake was I thought management had a lot to do with being liked. I thought being a good manager was about making people feel comfortable, considering all of their feelings, listening to all of their needs and wants and their emotions and their sensitivities, and trying to give them everything that they needed so they would feel like, why would I work anywhere else? I'm getting all the pay I want. I'm getting all the hours I want. I'm getting all the flexibility I want. So in other words, I was being that spoiled parent. I was spoiling the people that I was managing. I was exchanging an abundance with them in a one-way street. And what I did was I just made them worse, right? I'm not saying you don't take an element of all of those things I just shared with you as you're listening. You're like, well, we should listen to their concerns and we should empathize with, yes, to a degree, to a mutual, respectful degree in manners and on a professional level. Not going down that slippery slope of turning into Psych 101 in your practice. And all of a sudden, you're the psychological counselor for every single person who comes to work, and you're handling all their mental health days and all their emotional sensitivities and issues, and you're not dealing with the facts and the figures and the reason why they joined your group to begin with, which was to row alongside you to get the boat from one island to the next island so we don't starve out here in the middle of the ocean because we don't have any food and water. That is what a practice is about. It's about a common mission, a common purpose, common goal. Do you want to join my team and be a part of that? Or do I have to deal with your bad hair days and your emotional dramas to the extent that it's inhibiting the ability for us to row? That's when that becomes the problem, is when you are so sympathetic, you are so debilitating, you're so demoralizing of their abilities to strive for more because you're capitulating to their every single, hangnail, to their every single, like, this isn't how what I was used to getting a star just for participating. And I'm, you get my point. Like, we have a certain sect of society, or section or sector of society that comes in and they make their problems your problems. They want you to wear their condition. And that was me as a manager. I'm speaking from experience. I'm not sure if you're relating to what I'm saying or not, but we have this emotional standard. We have this drama that everyone's feeding off of. Not everyone. I don't want to overgeneralize, but there is a higher percentage than there used to be when the Gen Xers were around, right? We were just like, point me in the direction you need me to push the boulder and let's push. And the more people I can get on my side of pushing, the better the boulder's going to roll and the faster it's going to go. And we didn't concern ourselves with all of these other, social wills, ill wills, and all these societal sensitivities. I get, like, maybe you're like, oh, Brian, you're just old, right? Maybe you're not paying. Okay. I'm not saying that I'm cold and callous, but I am saying that in a professional setting, in a professional workplace environment, there has to be standards of practice. There has to be out of bounds markers. There has to be a two-way street of exchange. There has to be this, I'm willing to listen to you and you have to be willing to listen to me. I'm willing to, exchange in abundance with you on the things that are most important in the one-way flow in terms of compensation, flexibility, workload, things like, well, you also have standards of practice to meet here in terms of efficiency, quality of care, and productivity. You can't have one without the other. So if you want to know how to run a practice and actually run a private practice that doesn't suck, you're going to need to learn how to say no. I literally had a reminder card in my pocket that says just say no 25 years ago when I was running the clinics. I needed to learn that no gave me credibility. No, and standing by my principles and standing still, standing firm on my position garnished respect because people knew I wasn't like swaying in the wind all the time. I wasn't, giving somebody something and then saying no to somebody else who asked for the same thing. I wasn't playing favorites. It was one set of rules. Facts don't care about your feelings. The reality is I can't pay you $120,000 a year to come in and treat, 55 to 60 visits a week. I can't, as much as you'd like to have that. The math doesn't work, right? I can't afford to give you 3 years out of PT school, 6 paid weeks off when I've got everybody else who's been coming in with the 10 paid holidays or 6 paid holidays, rather, let me correct myself, the 6 paid holidays and 10 to 15 vacation days off. You know what I mean? You just can't, you don't want to be that person. Of course, you want to try to give everybody the things that they need and want, but it gets you into trouble if you are not able to set the boundary markers, if you're not able to establish that ground. And that's where I was. And that's why I sucked as a manager. And that's why my business suffered. And I put on a happy face and tried to be, jovial and happy with everybody. But the reality was the practice wasn't doing well. We were barely making our bills. And at some point we started losing money each and every month. And that's when I really had to confront and look in the mirror and say the problem, the common denominator is me. And I went and spent $115,000 in almost 2 years of my life getting through all of this practice management, business management, MBA-like training program, way better than an MBA in my opinion, because I didn't learn all the stuff I would never use, macroeconomics, microeconomics, geopolitical science. Who cares about that crap? That's not going to help your practice. So I learned about that, and I've since developed it into Meg Academy, and that's what I'm teaching you on right now. That's what I'm pulling from is Meg Academy. So here are the 5 things you need to master so that you don't suck in running your physical therapy private practice. Mastery number 1, time. You have to be disciplined with your time. I get this question. It's probably the most common question. Brian, there's not enough hours in a day. I said, yeah, I know. I've been there. The reason is you're not making time. What? What are you talking about? I can't make time. Yes, you can make time. Through organization. Oops, I just messed up my whole screen here on what I was going to talk to you about. Through organization, you will have more time. You will gain more time. You will gain the privacy of thought. And what do I mean by that? I just recently had manager meetings with all of my managers in the virtual front desk division and in the billing division. And I said, I want you to block out 1 hour a week where you're going to look at the stats. You're going to look at the employees' performances. You're going to look at all the clients' performances. You're going to look at the scorecard. We have this sheet that summarizes performance statistically across the board for people and our practices. And you're going to deduct what's going good, what's not going good, what do you want to change, what don't you want to change, so that you're mentally prepared for your board of directors meetings with our clients, and you're prepared for our individual meetings, our manager meetings with our staff. We have this so focused and dialed in that if you don't separate yourself for an hour a week without the chats and without the phone calls and without all that stuff, you're not going to have all your mental attention units on discovering what in fact you can put together as solutions to these problems. Or you're not even able to identify the situation going awry before it becomes a problem. Our goal here is to discover what's not optimal before it becomes a problem. That's how you should be running your practice. You don't want to wait till it's a fire. You want to go to it when it starts to smoke, and you want to be able to extinguish that before it becomes a fire. But if you don't have time, it's not going to happen. So here's what I recommend. Get up early. Literally get up earlier than you need to. I get up at 5:30 every morning. I don't need to be doing anything till about 9 o'clock, but I'm up at 5:30 so I can get my workout in. I can, the truth be told, I can feed the chickens. I can water the new landscape or whatever I need to do outside. And then I can get to my computer, clean out some of my emails, look at what I need to follow up with on communication, go into my Slack channel, see who's Slacked me overnight. Just really process the inflow of communication. That's what I like to do with my early morning after I've done my outside work, is process the inflow of communication and then think about how I want to respond. What tool do I need to pull? What do I need to create before my day starts? So I go into my day tackling each and every objective already prepared. I'm not dealing with the situations as they come up in the day. I'm already prepping myself as much as I can beforehand. You're typically not going to be at your best when you have to do an off-the-cuff answer to a question that gets thrown at you or a problem or situation. Like I've said before, I'm not a big fan of the word problems. I don't think life really consists of many problems at all. A problem really by definition is somebody giving something to you, like pushing on you, like holding you down. Like that's a problem. Like it's an external force. But situations come up all the time and they're not really problems. They're just challenges that you need to deal with. You're not going to be at your mental sharp. You're not going to be at your mental best. You're not going to be the sharpest at addressing those when you're just doing it on the fly. You have to be able to manage your time. Say, hey, Samantha, I really appreciate you bringing that to my attention. Rather than me giving you an off-the-cuff answer right now, let me think about that. Can I get back to you at 4 o'clock today with an answer? Oh, well, yeah. All right. I guess so. That makes sense. Yeah. It's better for me to process this so I can give you the most well thought out answer possible for you. So like I said, you need to be in control of your time. Make sure that you're giving yourself enough private time to get the things done so that you're not thinking about other things while you're trying to address something else. That is clutter, and that's going to keep you from being as effective as you possibly can. Second, in terms of time, compartmentalize your time. If you're going to be a treating therapist, be disciplined, hold steady. Do not treat more than 25 hours a week so you have enough time to work on your business, not in your business. We all know that. We've all heard that. But unless you are disciplined and hold that in, your time's going to get out of control and out of your hands. Have friends and family time. Have your special time so that you can recharge the batteries on a weekly basis. You should make time for yourself as well as for your practice and business, as well as for your staff. I think if you're holding 10-minute meetings once a month with every single staff member where they can come in and just communicate with you whatever's on their mind, you are going to extinguish so many things before they actually become a smoking fire, before they even become a fire for sure. But they may not even spark, right? Because you're in communication with them on a regular basis every single month. That has been a game changer for hundreds of practices across the country holding that in. Second, money. If you don't want to have a practice that sucks, you need money. You need to make money. This has nothing to do with greed. I am not talking to you about how you're choosing to spend your money, but you need a financial budget. It typically is going to run you somewhere in this day and age between $50,000 and $150,000 to open up a private practice. You're going to need at least $50,000. I'm just going to throw out some money things so that you don't suck, you're going to need at least 50,000 in a reserve account, line of credit, home equity line, business line of credit, whatever it is, but you're going to need access to 50,000 to help you during deductible season or maybe during holiday season, whatever that may be. It's different depending on where you are in the country. You're going to need to run a financial plan. Typically speaking, you want to collect somewhere between 45 and 55% of your charges going out the door. So figure out what your average collections per visit is. Nationwide, it's about $81 to $83. If you're well below that, you need to see what you can do to compensate with more cash-based services. 20% of your revenue coming in through cash, 80% through insurance, and you're in a low reimbursed insurance area, you're going to do so much better. So these are just money considerations. Consider that your rent should be less than 10% of your overall annual gross income that comes in the door. I already said collecting 45 to 55% of your GI. Your income divided by staff, and I'm going to leave you with this one. For every staff member you have on a weekly basis, they should be able to bring in $2,500 a week. For every staff member you're supporting, if you took your total income for the week divided by the total FTEs, you should get somewhere around $2,500. $2,000 to $2,500 is good. $1,500 to $2,000 is fair. Under $1,500 is hit the panic button. We've got a problem, Houston. You definitely need to see either you're overstaffed or you're underproducing. Which is it? You're going to need an analysis. We do practice health checkups, Laura, myself, and we'll just do them through Zoom. So sometimes if you can't quite put your finger on it, maybe just a health checkup is all you need, and we're going to identify all those out points and then go to it, Sparky. You can fix it, or if you need help, we can help you fix it. So either way, whatever works for you. People is number 3. So I just gave you some financial markers on how you can roll so you're really making the money that you need so you can be viable. And you yourself, literally, if your practice isn't throwing off 20 cents on the dollar, then you need to look at how you're running this practice. If you're not running a 20% net profit on all the work you're doing, then you're not in the top producer category. And why settle for anything less? You want to have a net revenue monthly, annually of 20 cents, 20% or greater, right? People, how many times do I hear from you guys writing into me or calling into me and saying, Brian, more people, more problems? I understand. I totally get it. We are still working to perfect 100% our remote virtual front desk services. It has gotten so much better over the last 2 years. We went from 0 to 100 in such a quick period of time, and we've learned from all of that. One of the things that we learned is that the nature of people today is twofold. There's 2 definite categories, especially in this remote work environment. There are people that simply want to be told what to do and how to do it and cut me loose and let me just do that. Don't throw me any curveballs. Don't ask me to go above and beyond. Don't ask me to think on my feet. Don't ask me, do you have anybody like this? That's your staff worker. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you better have the skills to identify who's a staff worker and then who's a management worker, like who's somebody who's like an administrative worker or a management worker, because they're a little bit more interested in creating a solution or heading off a problem or contributing to an improved system or policy or organization or structural change. They're thinking a little bit more beyond the doingness of their job. Doesn't make this person better than the other person. I love them both, but some people, their mental stretch is only as far as the work that you put in front of them. Other people are stretching further to say, how can I make this work even more efficient or more productive or more favorable, not only to me, but to my coworkers? Not everybody thinks like that, but some do. Know who is more of the administrative, I combined 2 words there, more of the administrative mindset and who's more of the staff worker mindset, and then lean into that, like literally lean into that and enable them to succeed in that role. Don't ask them to become one or the other, like literally know your personnel. So 2 categories of folks and enable their success because they come to you going through a 5-phase hiring process and they're willing and able. If they don't make the standard qualification of being willing and able, why are you hiring them? Many people have such problems with their personnel because they started wrong with the wrong person to begin with. And now you're listening to this, well, Brian, that's really hard in an hour or hour and a half of engagement to know. Well, yeah, it's not about the interview per se. That just gets them in the door. So they could snow you and put their best foot forward and say all the right things. I get that. I totally understand that. However, what are you doing in the first 90 days? What tea leaves are you reading, or what are you ignoring? Because honestly, there's not a position here in a physical therapy private practice that can't be mastered in 4 weeks or less. If you're holding somebody on in their month 2, month 3, and they're still substandard, that's on you. That's seriously on you, because you didn't onboard them with a check sheet where you were able to sign off possibly. I don't know. Maybe you didn't use a check sheet where you signed off on the skills that you were training them on, that they provided or proved to you proficiency in. Easy for me to say. That they provided proficiency in, and you were able to sign off that they had it. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, you find them and they have amnesia and they're not following anything that they were taught or trained. This has to do with what I'm going to talk about when we get to systems. There's a good way to head that off, and we'll talk about that in systems. But this is the symptom of what you'll find with the person that you brought in. Or all of a sudden, they get in here and they turn on their craziness. They turn on their wacky personality. They turn on all of a sudden, their problems are everybody else's problems. All of a sudden, they're exaggerating and embellishing and fabricating and inciting, craziness in others, You can't have that. I mean, they're upsetting your whole sandbox. They're running with scissors and throwing sand at others. You got to be like, this isn't working out. I really am glad that you came and gave it a college try, but let them go before you get through your probationary period or your orientation period or whatever you want to call it. Some of you are like, well, yeah, Brian, then it's unemployment and it's that. Well, I don't know. Maybe you need to change your policy when we get to systems here. I'm jumping into systems. Maybe you need to do temp to hire. Maybe you don't hire people full-time right out of the gate. Maybe you say, I'm going to bring you on temp basis, and if you prove yourself in the first 90 days, I'll give you an extended full job offer with benefits and pay and everything. Pay, of course I'm going to get paid. But you're going to extend it and make it better for them in the long run by taking a gradual approach. So you're not the effect of wackiness, right? You can't do crazy, people. You just can't do crazy. And I know, because I'm working with thousands of you on a regular weekly basis, and the stories you're telling me are just crazy, and you have them working for you for months. It's not like you didn't see crazy earlier. You just didn't act on it. Why? Because you're like, oh, I got to hire another person. I got to start it all over again. Well, you're not going to feel like that if you have a training program, if you have a virtual training program. 85% of what they have to learn is going to be without you even being in the room. I mean, why aren't you using technology to get you there? Target does, AutoNation does, Ashley Furniture does, Verizon does. Why do you think they do that? Because it works. You need to employ that same sort of thing. That's Meg Academy, as I've always said. It makes it so easy. It's so customizable for you. Number 4, I told you, it's one page of notes right here. Number 4, structure. I better not touch it. Screen might go away again like it did earlier. Structure. If you don't have structure, people don't know who to go with what. You should have an organization chart, not like a bubble chart, like here's me at the top and here's my clinical director and here's my staff. No, you should have it organized so I know who's in what chair, I know who's responsible for what duties, and I know how they're being held accountable by their statistical measurement of their products. Hats, stats, products, all on one piece of paper for every position. We have this broken out on a full Excel spreadsheet, so we can help you with this. You can literally just take the template and plug and play. But man, is it helpful when all of your people can go and reference the org board, organization chart, or organization board, whatever you want to call it, and they know who to go to with what, they know who's responsible for what, and they can clearly see what their responsibilities are. If you want to have people perform to the highest level, to top 10% of their license, then they need to know what they're being held accountable to. So put in structure. There's 5 divisions in a physical therapy private practice. 5. It's the administrative division, which is the communication administrative division, division 1. It's the marketing, public relations, and promo division, number 2. It's the finance division, number 3. It's a production division, number 4. And it's the executive quality division, number 5. This is where the executive sits because they're going to oversee the quality of delivery, and they're also going to be the entrepreneur for growth and development. You can't grow and develop a business if your quality falls out. It's not to say that you're going to be perfect all the time, 100% of the time, but it's what you do about it when you fall short that matters most. Honestly, it happens to us. It happens to everybody. Truth be told, be transparent. I'm not going to say we're perfect, but when we do come across a situation of imperfection, we make up for it above and beyond, and we remedy it, and we solve it, and we go for the distance, and we continue to commit and support our partners, our client, you, so that you succeed. Your success is our success. They're literally partnerships. Is that how you look at your practice with your patients? Their success is your success. Is that how you look at your doctors? Their success is your success. Is that how you look at your staff? Their success is your success. How are you going to do that without the proper structure? And then last but not least, number 5, systems. The very first thing, if you're going to honestly be successful, after you've got your time handled, you got your money handled, you've got your people handled, you know who to invite on the farm and who not to, you know how to position them, what chair, what room, what place, what roles, what responsibility, what kind of personality type are they? Are they more staff or are they more administrative? Then it's systems. Give them the tools to succeed. Give them what it takes. Give them the protocols to follow. Give them the SOPs and stick to it. If you don't want to be a practice that sucks, it's because you hold the line, right? And you know what you're going to hold everybody accountable to, and yourself too. You can't be off doing crazy stuff. You got to be where you're supposed to be and do what you do and say what you mean and mean what you say.